This is going to be a huge admission for me. I am eating much more plant-based these days, and not because I refuse to eat something with a face, not because I'm trying to save the environment, while those are very good and worthy goals. No, I'm eating more plants for a completely different reason. I like the way they make me feel. Hi, I'm Rick Higgins, and I am a reforming meat-aholic. Okay, I want to set some expectations right away. I ain't vegan. I ain't vegetarian, nor am I likely to become one. I am not preaching the holy word, the great green gospel of plant goodness. No, I'm simply telling you that something has crept into my consciousness, and I want to share it with you. There are two sides to this coin, the world and myself. Let's start with the world. Here are some fun facts. Did you know that in the United States alone, 300 million tons of waste are created every year in animal farms? And by waste, I mean poo. Or how about the fact that the United Nations Agriculture and Food Organization estimates that 15% of all greenhouse gases created in the world are from livestock production? Oh, here's a fun one. Did you know it takes 1,000 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of milk out of a cow? And that almost 87% of all fresh water used in the United States is used in livestock production? 87% to grow the feed to feed our animals. So obviously we're doing something that's not scalable. Now, back in the days when people had small farms and there were less of us on the planet, yes, we could maintain this. But the paradigm that we have, the factory farming, the absolute necessity and urge to eat animals, it just isn't going to work. Now, sorry for the preaching. All of that alone should have been enough for me to rethink my diet, but it wasn't. But let me tell you what was. And here's where I need to start getting fairly specific. Now, I like to eat animals. I love animals. Eggs, fish, cheese, whatever. It's all incredibly yummy. And honestly, eons of evolution have evolved this body to live on a combination of things, plant and four-legged based. So, am I preaching the good word of plant-based everything? No, but I am starting to preach the word of plant-forward thinking. Now, in a nutshell, here's what we're doing and why it's so radically different from anything I've ever known before. I'm from the South. In the South, we love our meat. Meat is gospel. That's the first thing you do when you create a meal, is you pick what meat you want, and it's usually cow-based. The second thing you do is you figure out maybe what kind of secondary meat you want with your meal, because it's entirely possible to do that. Then you create the bread, and yes, bread, rolls, something like that is with every Southern meal, preferably with margarine. Lord knows why we do that. And finally, you get down to vegetables. You create the vegetables that you just kind of pick what may be frozen in the freezer. You cook it with fat back because, hell, everything has to taste like pig. That, my friends, is how I learned to eat. But a few months ago, I started cooking with vegetables, and not with fat back either. Nikki started bringing home more and more, and I started trying to cook them and seeing how I liked them and seeing how I felt. Now, if you had asked me on a Monday if I felt better than a Friday, I'd have gone, meh. But if you'd asked me in June how I felt compared to February, difference is night and day. So completely noticeable. Now, I didn't notice this when I first started, but I notice it now. I'm not snacking as much when I cook right. I'm not hungry all the time like I am when I overstuff myself with things that just digest quickly or they're super or ultra processed. And in a rare blessing from the COVID lockdown, I ain't going to restaurants anymore. No more giant American-sized trough-fulls of food that you stuff in your face and then you're miserable for years afterwards. But it's also a pain because in this country, it is nigh impossible to cook and eat healthy. It's just not what we're geared to do. And frankly, it's a mindset because there's a lot more work involved. but I am going to help you a little bit. There's an episode I filmed recently about black bean and sweet potato tacos. Now, when I made that, I'd never made it before. I had no expectations of what it would taste like. I thought it would get me a lot of views. And, well, it didn't get me views, but oh my God, those things were yummy. I'm going to put a link to these things above and below you. You gotta try them. You don't know that you're not eating meat. The texture, the flavors, it's just so complex. You get very full very quickly with incredible taste, and you stay full and satisfied. I guess when all this started, Nikki and I were stuck watching Netflix one night, and there was a show called The Game Changers on that we were watching. Now, it was a documentary, one of those documentary types that, well, they already know the answer they want to present, and they film everything to make it look that way, but still, they followed a bunch of athletes from all different sports, and they fed them different diets. Some were very plant-based, some were very animal-based, and then they did lots of tests on them. Now, not the tests like alien probes kind of tests, but they were measuring their performance. They were measuring their blood. They were measuring all sorts of physiology. They were asking how they felt. And universally, they all felt better with a plant-based diet. They all performed better with a plant-based diet. Now, I find this very disturbing. There was a report in The Lancet, a medical publication, that said unhealthy diets are the largest burden of disease in the world. Far more so than even tobacco use. Think about that. Worldwide diets are more unhealthy than smoking. So what are we doing now? We are plant forward. And what that means is when we plan a meal or go shopping, we pick the vegetation first. And that can include beans, nuts, whatever. It's not just the green stuff that grows out of the ground and you have a salad. I'm learning there is so much more to it. But we pick that first. And then we decide what type of animal protein, if any, but usually we do we want to accompany it. It's basically, it is plants first, meat second, and we throw in some carbs because your body needs some carbs. But that is the order, and after you start eating that way, you don't know any other way because you feel great. Now, there's a link in the description below. I wrote a blog post that goes into a lot more detail about this, and I do have some videos on the channel. Go find them as well, some of my plant-based cooking, and see what you think, see how you feel. And speaking for the rest of us co-earthers, we thank you.